Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's Nugget of Wisdom. Generally, we do a pearl of wisdom every week with Mynoo Maryel. Every once in a while, Mynoo is called to do what she calls a nugget of wisdom. So tonight, get ready for a very exciting adventure. This is the 7 wonders hidden in the journey down the rabbit hole. And I know we've all thought about what is the rabbit hole, and sometimes that we become fearful, apprehensive when it comes to that analogy of the rabbit hole. But Mynoo is here to ensure us tonight that it's actually a magical, exciting journey. Looks scary, but not so scary. So think about Alice in Wonderland and stay curious and open as we take this magic carpet ride on our great big adventure tonight. So sit tight. It's going to be a lovely adventure. Again, these are the 7 wonders hidden in the journey down the rabbit hole. And this is our nugget of wisdom this evening. Again, what you feel might be scary is actually going to be very exciting, and you'll experience that tonight as Mynoo shares with us these 7 wonders. So get ready for the magical, mystical adventure, and no rabbit needed. So we'll be going on this ride together tonight. Next week, we'll resume our Pearl of Wisdoms, but when Mynoo is called to do a nugget of wisdom, we pull that in. And tonight, she just wanted to make sure that everyone felt comfortable with this analogy of the rabbit hole, because I know we've all thought about that and going down into what we think of dark or black, and it's not that at all. So we're going to go on an adventure tonight, learn about the 7 wonders that are hidden in the journey down the rabbit hole. So what you think might be scary, you'll find is quite exciting. As I said, no rabbit needed, just come along for the ride. So thank you all for joining this Thursday evening. Hello to everyone joining us Facebook Live. And we're going to just get right over to Mynoo Maryel.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Okay. I will take care of the back room. We've got a lot of people coming in tonight, so I'll handle that while you take us on our magical journey.
Thank you. Yeah, there's some flickering going on in the background. We thought it might be the air conditioning, but I've turned it off and it's still flickering. So it's something that my computer is sharing, asking for attention. So I'll take that on a little bit later. In the meantime, let's look at this rabbit hole stuff. I've been talking about the energies of 2023, and I've been sharing that the 2023 energies are about illuminating. And illuminating by itself isn't just about switching on the light bulb. It is more than that. It's about there's something educational, there's something instructional. And as I've started working with those energies, I became very present to some of the learnings that I was surfacing. It was a little bit like a journey down a rabbit hole. What I thought at face value was nothing as it seemed. And as I went into that inquiry, the discovery of what I'm about to share, the 7 wonders, felt like something that is worthy of sharing as a nugget of wisdom. Because as we get into the year of illuminating and we move forward, that's like the 4th foundational pillar for the new age. And we'll have a couple of years of working with the 4 pillars in action. In 2026 onwards, it's game on, it's full on. The new era, as has been talked about and predicted in so many different scriptures by so many different civilizations. This is a time that has been talked about, that we are in the midst of and that we are entering. So we'll probably have a few rabbit hole journeys. So it's quite nice to understand in its fullness, So for me, I began by looking at, well, where did this rabbit hole analogy come from? Yes, sure, Alice in Wonderland is a story that all of us, most of us, have been familiar with, and that's where it begins. And it all starts with Alice being seduced by, inadvertently as a child by an adventure that the rabbit seems to be going into. And it goes into its rabbit hole and she follows it. And then, it's like, whoa, she's sliding down it and she sees a whole collection of bookshelves and a variety of things as she's going down. Now she has no idea where she's going to. Seems like a bit of a bizarre, confusing, sort of nonsensical situation and an environment. And she's so far gone so fast that it's difficult to extricate herself from that. So she keeps going and she lands on her feet. And the whole story of what occurs from the space, the environment that she's in. And it literally is like a full spectrum, full on experience that becomes the story of Alice in Wonderland. So if we are to now map that on to our life as we live our life, we've all gone down these rabbit holes, seduced by a rabbit equivalent. And a lot of the time, we go so far that it's difficult to extricate ourselves. We even forget what that seduction was even about. And because we aren't in a space where Alice really stepped into Wonderland the moment she realized she's sliding down this rabbit hole, and it became one of an adventurous journey, she was present every moment to every little nuance of each of the characters, every step she took, everywhere she turned. There was absolute presence that she was that she was displaying, if you like. So it became a wonderland, as opposed to, what about the family that I've left up there? How am I going to get to them? There was no worry, there was no anxiety there. There wasn't even, if only, you hadn't seduced me into this. I mean, the rabbit did nothing other than it's what it naturally does, which is after its little bit of a sprint around, it goes into its rabbit hole. It doesn't ask you to come with it, just not seducing anyone. So where the rabbit hole becomes, develops this negative connotation, often it is to do with the seduction part and a little bit of blame on the seducer. The seducer may not even be seducing you. They may just be there and their world seems very attractive. And you get drawn into it. And then you start going down that track and a lot of it doesn't make any sense initially. And you now don't know how to extricate yourself, so you keep going. Now, the key to the rabbit hole is to keep going until you get to, I'll just use the term, the other side, and land in Wonderland. So the first wonder of the journey through the rabbit hole is Wonderland, an imaginary place of delicate beauty, like a sort of a magical charm. But the key thing here is that enables you to experience Wonderland as it is meant to be experienced is where you position yourself in the context of blaming either yourself or another for seducing you into this rabbit hole. Where there is blame, then you're actually not playing the game of coming alive. So the first thing to know, there are these 7 wonders hidden in a journey down a rabbit hole. Now, the rabbit hole in the way it's used always has a rabbit. And the rabbit, plays its role much later on, but initially it's just a rabbit. Now, rabbit in the context of us and us talking about a rabbit hole here could be anything. Could be the seduction of a new culture, could be the seduction of a new currency. It could be seduction of a new career or a person or a business or an idea or a campaign. It could be any of those things. And you go into it and you start following it. And then the moment blame comes in, the moment you think you seduced me into this, well, the person who you may think seduced you into it probably never had the intention of seducing anyone. They were just doing their thing, and you got drawn into it. Now, the fact that you are there, you have an opportunity to experience these 7 wonders. How do you know that it's a rabbit hole versus something that's just going to pass? A rabbit hole feels confusing. It feels like, why am I even here? It's like a different environment than the one that you're typically used to. And therefore, it becomes difficult to even imagine how you would extricate yourself. You're in a rabbit hole. So now, once you know that you're in a rabbit hole, now that rabbit hole, you can be in a rabbit hole of conversations around a relationship or around a philosophy. There are a whole variety and characteristics of these rabbit holes. So the fact that there are 7 wonders hidden in your journey down a rabbit hole, you may as well enter Wonderland. And that way, when you get to this clearing, as you come out of the rabbit hole, you're not going to be where you began. You're going to be in a different space. And as you come out of it, you are able to savor and enjoy that which is exciting, worthy of admiration. That which feels really scenic and a food, a nourishment for your soul. Not only that, as you're going through the journey and you've taken on the first wonder of Wonderland, you start noticing what it comes along the way. So that way you are literally whetting your appetite to land in Wonderland and completely rejoice and savor all that it has to offer. Now, here's the thing about the rabbit hole. I usually say, do a lay of the land and stuff. Well, you remember the Alice in Wonderland story. She slides down the rabbit hole and she's sliding really fast. And, there's speed, there is pace. And you can't even call it velocity because you don't know where you're heading. But you're already in it. So if you get clear about what your intention is for your game of life, and if you don't have one that is very crisply defined, the purpose of life is to live it and come alive. What does aliveness mean to you? Keep that handy always. That's like your SOS go-to place, always. So that in case you find yourself sliding down the rabbit hole, you can start tapping into the 7 wonders. And you are plugged into the aliveness part in case you don't have anything else. That could be the intention, because that is Alice her intention was to experience the wonders in this world. And off she goes down a rabbit hole. And Wonderland starts to open up. So you decide, what does aliveness actually mean to you? So the lay of the land that I would say, as a result of understanding the seven wonders hidden in a journey down a rabbit hole, the lay of the land that you engage with is, what does aliveness look like? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and environmentally for you. You know, what do you look like? What sort of thoughts are you thinking? What is your mental frame of mind? What kind of emotions do you experience? And how does it feel? It's like, you know, with every breath you take, you're plugged into the spiritedness of you. What does that feel like? What kind of dynamics do you observe and notice as you are in relating to people, relating to projects? And what's the environment that you live in? What's the environment that you work in? What's the environment that you are, you are making a contribution to? And if all of this was there, you know, what you look like, what you sound like, what you feel when others look at you in your aliveness, what do they see? What do they look like looking at you this way? What do they feel? What are they saying? Now, that's your definition of aliveness. Now you can, it's cool. You get seduced by something, a movement or a person or, you know, a relationship, a campaign. Go for it. It may be a rabbit hole, and so it is. You will be able to work with these seven wonders because intentionally you have chosen to be connected to what aliveness feels like. And the journey down a rabbit hole will be a journey of wonders. The interesting thing about a rabbit hole is, you know, as one is sliding down this, sometimes you find yourself drawn to a conversation. A lot of the time, the rabbit hole stuff happens in conversations. You slide into it and you have something to say. There's a lot that you're learning, and then you realize you have nothing to contribute here because it's such a new area. You're still excited about it, but you see that everybody else is engaged in it and you're not. Well, you can be by activating one or several of the seven wonders. So the first one is Wonderland. You find yourself sliding down a rabbit hole, just look for, you know, what is magical about this experience? You can't find anything. It just seems like a big dark thing that you're sliding down. Imagine it. Imagine what might be there on the other side that is actually going to contribute to even greater aliveness than you've experienced up to this point in time. Remember, you know, you are always in an experience of miracles as long as your heart is beating. So there's always, remember, a miracle to me is something beautiful occurs that makes your heart sing. And the fact that your heart is beating, that is a song of the heart. So there's a miracle right here. So whatever is occurring, you can always find that. So the first wonder, which is the discovery of the wonderland, that is literally, you know, one with us. There is always a delicate, magical charm and beauty. Wherever you are, you can always find it. Even in that trepidation that can occur when you're going down something and you've never been there before. And there's no one that you can even have a conversation with because it's all new stuff. With all of that comes a sense of excitement. And then when you see people, step up and do amazing things in a realm that you don't quite understand, you can go into, oh my God, I don't understand this, and get anxious about it, or you can go into admiration and wonder about what they're up to. I mean, when I looked at it, I thought, okay, when was this? When did I experience it? I mean, I've had several experiences of this, but the one that was very stark and very different was when I first began my journey, which led to a series of spiritual awakenings. I remember going to Bali for 3 weeks and, it was literally like sliding down a rabbit hole. When I chose to live an extraordinary life where all aspects of my life coexist with ease, joy, and grace. I didn't know what that meant. I just thought it would be, very nice, comfortable sort of way of living my life, quite different than what I had. So as I began my journey back from Bali to London, I was on Malaysian Airlines, and I was standing at Kuala Lumpur Airport. And at this point, I had started receiving what I call as downloads, and I'd started writing them. And I'm there at Kuala Lumpur Airport, and they're starting to board, and I board one of the very, first few passengers to board the flight. And I get my iPhone out because I know I've received a download. And I start writing the 7 habits of authentic leaders. I mean, I had done a huge body of work for over 6 years, studying inspired leaders around the world. And I thought I knew what one needed to know about leadership. The 7 habits of authentic leaders. I'm writing it and it's very different. Something that took me 6.5 hours took me 6.5 minutes to write down. I was sliding down a rabbit hole. Because I wrote the 7 habits down and I was like, I wonder if anybody's ever like this. Whether there are authentic leaders and whether it is something that is there for this time. And I'm like going down this rabbit hole because I'm become very curious about, well, what am I to do with this? How does this contribute to living an extraordinary life? It sounds really tough and quite earnest to be following this. And as I'm on the flight, I've got my notes section of my iPhone, the phone's on airplane mode, and I'm just typing away, and the whole body of work on authentic leadership. It really emerged with examples and stories of actual leaders who I knew of, who were authentic leaders, and others who most people thought really weren't. All I could do was I was excited at what was possible in this new state where my mind wasn't analyzing everything that I was writing. The writing itself was coming through so fast that there was no space to write. I literally was sliding down that speed. And I remember writing, I am the Alice and, just about to reach Wonderland here. Right now I'm in the rabbit hole. That flight from KL to London was that. And I have to say that literally sealed what was going to happen next in my life. If I had any thoughts or any two minds about whether or not I continue with my journey of extraordinary life and spiritual awakenings, or continue to get back into the safe spot of living in London, the deal was done. I was going to London to complete. whatever needed to be completed. And there was a lot that needed to be completed. And I did it with great honor and respect to myself and to everyone else. Before, there was great honor and respect for everyone else, even if it meant that I was compromising. This time it wasn't, so I realized that in itself was wonderland. That just by actually honoring myself, I was able to honor others in a way that, like big relationships got completed, ended in a celebratory way. Wouldn't have happened. The exciting thing about the rabbit hole is the pace and speed is so rapid, which is why I say, take the time and define what aliveness means to you. At that point, I didn't have anything other than what aliveness meant to me was living this extraordinary life where all aspects of my life coexist. And from that has emerged, this whole calling of my soul being expecting and accepting miracles as the norm for humans and humanity. So even as I got back and there were some tough discussions to be had, there were many, many changes and shifts that needed to be done, including choosing to close one of my businesses and activate another, and making a choice between the 15 people, leaders that were a part of the federation business, then choosing a couple of them that I would work with, making that choice, communicating it to them, communicating it with everyone else. All of those things, I came from the space of distilling that adventurous, magical beauty in the person, in the conversation, in what they could be looking forward to by taking on the work that they were relying on me for themselves, by themselves. So let's look at the second wonder hidden. The second wonder hidden in your journey through the rabbit hole is, I don't edit what comes through. The second wonder is open sesame. This is the command that I think it was Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. They gave that to, and then the cave of treasures, in which the thieves held the treasures, opened up, open sesame. Really, what does open sesame actually mean? It really means a free and unrestricted access or admission. So when you are going down the rabbit hole, and one of the wonders hidden in it is open sesame, how do you work with that? What does it even mean? What it did for me is it literally was like an open sesame command that gave me unrestricted access to this inner wisdom that always showed up from time to time in the form of a little bit of an intuitive reminder that I would, suppress. Not now, another time. But the moment you slid down the rabbit hole, there is no time to sit and analyze and go, not now, another time. The fact that open sesame occurs and you actually activate a free, unrestricted means of admission or access, be aware of what it is that you're getting that unrestricted means of admission or access to. The thing that will occur for everyone, 100%, if you're choosing aliveness, you will get unrestricted access and permission that you will give yourself to a level of nuance. The moment you act on it, that is your 0.02% that gives you 100% aliveness. What is that? It is one of the wonders that is hidden. So for me, what it did was, I had chosen I'm going to live an extraordinary life where all aspects of my life coexist. I did not have ease, joy, and grace there. The open sesame gave me unrestricted access to joy, ease, and grace. I had no idea that was even possible. It literally was, you can't have your cake and eat it too situation. Ease, joy, and grace will happen, but you can have that, or you can actually have success at work. The two did not coexist in my world. And this whole piece that I talked about, the 7 habits of authentic leaders, and then getting the open sesame, unrestricted access to joy, ease, and grace, I actually decided I'm going to be an authentic leader. I'm going to teach and mentor people to become inspired leaders. But I've done the inspired leaders part for more than 6.5 years at that point. I'm going to step into being an authentic leader. An authentic leader, the 7 habits. These leaders purposefully lead on purpose. They have a purpose. And they very consciously and purposefully lead on purpose. They lead without meaning. They don't give meaning to what has occurred. It's occurred. If somebody says, no, I'm not going to follow you, they don't give meaning to it. So they lead without meaning. They lead without reason. They don't go around justifying why this purpose or why not that. They share. They share with great enthusiasm where they are at. And if somebody doesn't like what they are talking about, they become curious about that. They do not justify. This is one of the qualities of an authentic leader. There is no justification. There is only full-on engagement, either engagement with a level of curiosity or engagement in terms of self-reflection. They lead without agreement. They're not looking for everyone to agree on things. They have a purpose. They share it generously. And the invitation is open. They don't even actually go invite people. They get on and do what they believe requires to be done. And some people will join them and others won't. They're not looking for agreement. They don't lead by consensus. There is no bull force there. There is simply sharing. And to these authentic leaders, like literally every day is a date with destiny. I mean, they know this is their destiny. They know this is their destiny, and every day to them is a date with destiny. So it's as if the destination is where they are landing every single day. So they've literally prepared themselves as if they're going on a date. Just remember what you were like when you went on dates. There's nothing flippant about it. You do take care, about how you show up. You prepare for it a little bit. So every day is a date with destiny. And they take, this is the 7th habit, which is they seek inspiration in everyday things. It isn't about some role models out there or something far off. They get curiously inspired even by a leaf, by the petal of a flower or by a frog or or something that's just an everyday thing. This being in Wonderland an open sesame takes place for me, and I get unrestricted means of admission and access to really experiencing joy, ease, and grace. That's why they have joy, ease, grace omnipresent, authentic leaders. It's just so. They purposefully lead on purpose. They lead without meaning, they lead without reason, they lead without agreement. They know this is their destiny, and every day is a date with destiny. And they seek inspiration in everyday things. Leads me to the third wonder that's hidden in your journey through a rabbit hole. And it is the wonder of astonishment. Feelings, something that generates this feeling of surprise and amazement. Astonishment has a particular quality. It's a regenerative quality. It isn't just a one-off thing. If something astonishes you, it actually arouses a curiosity in you. And you naturally go in and investigate it a little bit more. And hence, astonishment is thriving. It is regenerative. And that amazement and surprise continues. And that's exactly what happened to me then. And what also occurred as a result of this astonishment, surprise, and amazement, that I was super motivated to implement the 7 pillars of living an extraordinary life. I did it without missing a single day. Like every single day, I would implement those 7 pillars. Some of you who've been on the journey into miracles, you've experienced those 7 pillars. I would implement them diligently every single day. And this feelings of surprise and amazement at the end of each day, when I would take stock of all that occurred, that I can learn from, I saw my definition of aliveness started getting fine-tuned. Where some of the things that were super important and were the main driving motivators for me became an important contributor. Money being one of them was a contributor, not the motivator that was pulling me into action. So the wonder hidden in your journey down a rabbit hole of astonishment. Astonishment itself its innate vibration is amazement. As a word, its innate vibration is amazement. So if you find yourself, you're engaging in a conversation and suddenly you're in it, you've taken action, one thing leads to another, and you are going with a group of people somewhere that you've never even imagined that you would ever go. And it's like, oh my goodness, I'm so far gone now. Find what's surprising, what's giving you those feelings of surprise and amazement. Allow astonishment to kick in. The interesting thing, every time I do a pearl of wisdom or a nugget of wisdom, I always say, follow the 7 in sequence. Here, you can start anywhere. You start with amazement, open sesame will take place, and you will find yourself in Wonderland. You begin with Wonderland, and everything else follows as well. The key thing is rather than a rabbit hole slide being one that has a negative, nonsensical, bizarre, difficult connotation, have it be one which, sure, it's bizarre and it's confusing and it seems nonsensical. It's an environment that's typically different from what you're used to, and it takes you far so rapidly that it's difficult to extricate yourself. And so it is. There are these 7 hidden wonders. Let's find what they are. The sooner you engage with really getting your aliveness defined, the easier it becomes. The whole COVID phenomenon was a rabbit hole of sorts. Lockdown, social distancing, isolation, this bunch of medication, that bunch of medication, lots of stuff. And we all participated in some of it. And so many of us that this whole online Friday morning, Saturday, Thursday evening sessions emerged, and the wisdom that I shared, I allowed it to come through with confidence, knowing that it was actually going to create some astonishment. And it continues to do so. It is truly regenerative. Take nothing for granted as the modus operandi. A harmless following a rabbit around a park leads her into a rabbit hole that drops her into a wonderland. And you can actually experience the wonders along the way. The thing that takes astonishment away instantly is when you choose to blame. The moment you go into blaming someone that might have seduced you away from your comfortable life, there's no astonishment, there's no regeneration. Wonder is gone. There's an interesting phrase that they use in Sanskrit called nimit, which is someone who's a conduit to. So sometimes you have people who are a conduit to you getting to a place which just doesn't feel comfortable, doesn't feel right. And it's one of those rabbit hole journeys. And we spend many, many years, and sometimes the rest of the life, blaming this person. They were a conduit to a wonderland that was yours to create. If you didn't take that up, you chose to blame them, then you're the one who refused to play the game of aliveness. This is the interesting thing that I got, an astonishing fact, which continues to generate feelings of surprise and amazement, which is life is a gift that we are given from our Creator. It's simply a gift of a state in which we are breathing. That's all it is. Someone gives you, a gift, and it could be I have a housewarming, and someone's given me a really good electric kettle, and it'll just sit there occupying space. The gift only becomes a gift that serves when you use it. So we are all given a gift of life, unequivocally, that is there. It's the state in which we are breathing. This astonishing fact that we all have the same gift of life, and it's up to us to choose how we live this life. Because the consequence of living this life is the purpose of having this gift, which is to come alive. And if we actually envision, define what that experience of aliveness is, then every pathway, every incident leads you a step closer to the experience of aliveness. Rabbit hole or not. You know, our first rabbit hole is that journey down the birth canal, where at some point you slide out of it. It has all the experiences of discomfort, being bashed about, and voila, you land in Wonderland. We have a lot of cellular memory of going down rabbit holes and experiencing these hidden wonders. So all I'm doing here is just reactivating a remembrance, that's all. Let's look at the fourth one, the fourth wonder. The fourth wonder is remarkable. A journey down the rabbit hole is remarkable. Remarkable is hidden at literally every step of the way. It's an unusual or a special way that makes people notice and be surprised or impressed. It's worthy of attention. Every experience of this journey down the rabbit hole is worthy of attention. Whose attention? Your attention. And sometimes it may just feel like a big dark tunnel that you're going down. And you may just choose to, okay, I'll just give in. Well, fine, remain plugged into the wonder of remarkable. But it is quite an unusual and a special way that has you notice the wonders hidden in this world in which you are a player playing the game of coming alive. You signed up to be a player. I really love this particular wonder, the hidden wonder of remarkable. Now here I did go into every step that I took, which was so fast. In 3 weeks, I come back unrecognizable in a full spectrum way. Even physically, I was unrecognizable. In 3 weeks, mentally, I had a completely different frame of mind. Emotionally, you know, from people being scared of me to actually people really wanting to have fun with me. I mean, fun was not my thing. And it was center stage in 3 weeks. It was a remarkable experience. Connecting to the spiritedness of me just got me to find my groove and my dancing steps again. Transformed the social dynamics with every member of my family, including completing my relationship with my 17-and-a-half-year partner. We'd been together for 17-and-a-half years, and it was a powerful celebratory completion and setting the foundation of a new beginning in our individual lives as we chose to live. It was remarkable. I was amazed when Phil and I announced our happy endings and new beginnings party. We had people from all walks of life who had interacted with us. Relatives, friends of friends who'd heard about us. Work colleagues, ex-work colleagues, ex members of our team. They showed up not because we reached out to them, they'd heard that we were having it. It was a surprising experience. It really introduced me to the power of completion before moving on to the next thing. And completing thoroughly the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, taking the time to celebrate that which is worthy of that attention. And it was one of the wonders hidden in that Alice in Wonderland journey. The fifth wonder that is hidden is wholesome. There is, the innate vibration of wholesome is trustworthy. So it's like it touches and it's open. It touches and impacts all areas of our life. There is a well-beingness just in the word wholesome. And you can apply the wholesomeness to anything, to any experience, to any communication, to any dynamic. And as you do that, it has you feel whole and complete within yourself. Something quite decent, noble, and trustworthy about wholesome. The wonder of wholesome. I mean, I applied this as I was going to have a conversation with my partner and shared with him for the first time that, I felt that our relationship was complete and it was the end of our time as a couple. And that we will not be living together. We will not be planning our lives together. We will not be planning anything that we will be doing together. How do you have a wholesome conversation like that, And yet, unbeknown to me, I was engaging in this particular wonder, hidden in that Alice in Wonderland rabbit hole journey of mine into living an extraordinary life where all aspects of my life coexist with joy, ease, and grace, omnipresent. So I did, before I actually even met him, I did examine whether it was a decent thing to do, to have this conversation. And how would I share that conversation with him in such a way that was honoring of our relationship, and in such a way that we didn't go too backwards and forwards, that I didn't need to justify why I wanted that completion. And I literally, as I was engaging with this, I discovered there were so many quite amazing, decent, trustworthy things that enriched each of our well-being just in the way we had chosen to conduct our relationship. And it was important to acknowledge and honor that. I wasn't leaving because there was something wrong with it. It was complete. And it was also important in the spirit of wholesomeness and the well-being that comes naturally with this wonder of wholesome, it was important to create certain boundaries. it was important to create certain parameters. So it was interesting, the conversation that I had, I was able to share with him where I was coming from, where this realization dawned on me, and that it was full and final as a choice that I was making for me, and a choice that I had engaged with for a few hours in terms of how it would impact his life, and how some of the pieces that would, unravel themselves, that he may not have known how to handle, would get handled. And how I would move from that place to actually leaving London altogether for an extended period of time. And it was a discussion that emerged. It was a beautiful celebration, acknowledgement of the wholesomeness of everything that we had co-created, collaborated, experienced together, and lots of laughter too. And that we would continue to, make each other laugh wherever we are in the world. We did not at that point know how to share where we were at with the people that were close to us. And that is where the co-creation of a happy endings and new beginnings party came about. So we don't have to figure out our line on this. We just share exactly what is. And be there holding the space for people to experience their own experience of receiving this news. It truly was a very decent, trustworthy experience of wonderment, applying it to such a delicate situation. Let's look at the sixth one. I get carried away sometimes. I'm just noticing that there is 4 minutes left. The sixth wonder is nifty. Something good or great is a wonder hidden in the journey down a rabbit hole. I think this whole idea of a happy endings and a new beginnings party was quite nifty, pretty good and great. And it emerged from this as truly a wonder hidden in this journey down a rabbit hole. So my partner was left actually quite excited at the adventure of what's to come. He went on to have 5 other relationships and has been happily married for the last 5 years or so now. And all emerged from my Alice in Wonderland trip down the rabbit hole. The 7th one is radiant. Truly sends out a shining, glowing light that literally covers up everything in its path, and everything as if starts to glow brightly. This happy endings, new beginnings party, people came in with great trepidation, not knowing how they would react. People were not necessarily talking to each other initially, but they were all different groups of people. And in no time at all, this light was shining. And everyone was glowing brightly as they shared their completion and their wishes for our new beginnings. And that's available to you the moment you begin your slide down the rabbit hole. as long as you just relate to the rabbit, whatever that rabbit may be, as a conduit to a land of wonders. You have access to each and all of the 7 hidden wonders. Over to you, Catherine.
Well, thank you so much, Mynoo. Even though my computer had a different mind of its own and was doing some things, I just have to share that out of the blue, my phone rang and it said, "Message from the rabbit hole." And I kid you not, it was something happening on Clubhouse. So there you go. I just said, okay, I'm going with it. So every day really is a date with destiny. And I just love it. I love remaining curious. And I just wish you all good night. Thank you, Mynoo. And good journey to you all as you take your own magical journey of surprises, whatever your life will bring. Just stay curious and allow the magic to unfold. And we'll see you right here next week. Thank you, Mynoo.
All. Thank you. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy the wonders hidden in the rabbit hole.